So sit in a way that alleviates discomfort. So if it's your right foot, you can even do a sort of half malasana. However you're sitting, with whatever is going on in your body, try to let your shoulders stack over your hips. Take a breath in. And then a breath out. Because we're all working with something in the body, a body that needs a little extra love and attention today. In general, as always, whatever the case may be, take a breath in. Feel just the resonance of your inhale. Then take a breath out, observing the sensation of your exhale. And if it changes anything that's going on in your body, maybe you realize, I prefer to have both feet out. Whatever the case may be, breathe in. And breathe out. Take 3 or 4 breaths to find a comfortable seat and use your breath as a way of gauging that level of comfort. So if you need to adjust, planting your feet and getting tall, if you want to send your feet back or change what you're doing with your shoulders, keep checking in with each breath in and each breath out. Now, if you're working with a specific injury or a specific part of your body that needs extra love today, set your mind to that place. It can be emotional or physical, or even mental. Maybe you're trying to create some cognitive resilience. As you breathe and notice the fluctuation of breath, use the fluctuation of your breathing to reflect and observe what stabilizes and supports the part of you that needs extra love or extra help today. So if it's an injured foot, maybe you're reflecting on the other muscles up your leg that will help support you. If it's a low back, maybe you're thinking about the muscles that stabilize your back on the front and the back line. If it's emotional, you can reflect on how to stabilize and support your emotional center. Let your breath come in, and then your breath go out. We'll take 3 more breaths, consciously focusing on stabilizing, on support. If you enjoy working with mantras as you breathe and move through practice, today's might be I cultivate support. And breathe in. And you can repeat that to yourself with each breath. I cultivate support. And if a different word feels more resonant, that's great. Work with what you need today. To keep things very simple as we set up to move, take a breath in. And a breath out. We'll set up some support and then we'll stand up. So coming off whatever you're sitting on, you can slide things out of the way. Bolsters and extra blankets. If you like to have a blanket underneath your knees, when you do knee down things, you can set your blanket across the height of your knees, where your knees would normally land, and then stand up. So you come tall on your mat. Softly bend in your knees. And if your feet are at hips width distance and you're not feeling your quads turn on, you can take your feet a smidge wider, soften in your knees, and try to find that sense of uplift again through the spine. We'll stay here, or you can take your arms out like you're holding a beach ball. Yeah. So there becomes an element of strength in the bend of the knees, but also in the arms, just having to lift them. Now, sometimes I find when folks reach out with the arms, there's a tendency to shift the bum back a lot, as if the weight of the imaginary ball is being bolstered by the thighs. So keep a bend in the knees, yes, but try to stabilize more through the belly than using the hinge of your hips. And take a breath in. And you can feel for the low ribs engaging as you exhale, or the muscles just below them. Breathe in. And then breathe out. Cool. We'll be here for 5 breaths. If you notice that your weight is drifting forwards and backwards on your feet or side to side, if it's not quite even, close your eyes and try to feel for neutral. Breathing in and breathing out. One more inhale. One more exhale. There's always one more inhale. And one more exhale. You're welcome to stay longer, but when you feel complete, let your hands come down, straighten up through your legs, take a breath in, and a breath out. Okay. Now, we're going to crisscross the legs. Now, you can cross the right ankle over the left thigh. If you notice that that locks your knees back, step the right foot a little bit forward and maybe have a chair or something you can hold on to. We're gonna take a side body stretch here, but I wanna make sure that you're stable as you do it. So the right ankle is over and to the left of the left foot. Cool. Use the wall or something for stability. Take the right arm up and overhead and breathe in. And as you exhale, you'll let your hips shift out to the right and your right hand will come over to the left, even if you're using a wall or something to stabilize. And breathe in. And as you exhale, really make sure that your feet are stuck to the floor. So sometimes one foot tries to liberate itself. Take a breath in. And a breath out. As you inhale, you'll come back up, but soften through both knees so that your weight is even in your hips. With your exhale, root into your left foot. Try to lift the right knee up ever so slightly. Breathe in. And breathe out. Looking to stabilize now through the left leg. We're just hovering here. The wall is still there if you need it. The right knee is in line with the right hip. And if you're seated and modifying from the floor, you can try to hug the right knee in towards your chest from the ground. That's fine too. We'll be here for 3. Steady breaths. Try to let the right hip come in line with the left. Now 2. One more inhale, and you might wobble, that's okay. When you exhale, set the right foot down. Bend softly in both knees. Take your arms forward again. Get tall through the spine. And breathe in. And breathe out. On your inhale, just stand up, let your hands come down. With your exhale, if you need to shift around to get support on your second side, that's okay. Soften through the right knee and cross the left foot over in front. Soft knees. And it can be a longer stance to help give the knees more space, but you'll send your left hand up when you're stable. Breathe in. Your hips shift to the left, your left hand reaches over to the right, and your right hand can stabilize at your hip, or you can use it on the wall if the balance is feeling tricky. Breathe in. And breathe out. Sometimes it's interesting in these shapes to experiment with, if balance feels okay, to experiment with closing your eyes. I get a fun whooshy sensation of my body trying to figure out where it is in space the moment my eyes close. Looking for these little ways of checking in, stabilizing, finding the support within. You'll come back up on an inhale. Bend in your knees and bring the left knee up. And if you suddenly need to support differently, that's okay. So try to let your hips level off. Lift the left knee. We'll breathe in. And we'll breathe out. So there's some hip flexor action to this. If you keep your toes flexed, you can also use your hamstrings on the left leg to keep the left leg active, which helps in lifting itself. And then your upper body can stabilize itself. And again, if you need to, you can turn to a wall and just tap it for extra support. Let your breath come in and your breath go out. One more inhale. With your exhale, gently place the left foot down. Bend in both knees again. This time we'll take chair pose. If you prefer to take this, sometimes it's called chi generating pose. You can do that, or you can bend in your knees and shift your hips back for a more traditional Utkatasana. Arms can go up if that feels okay on the shoulders. As you're here, take a breath in and a full breath out. And check in with your intention or your mantra. I cultivate support. Where is the support coming from here? Breathe in and breathe out. In and out. One more inhale. With your exhale, stand up, bring your hands to center. And if you're not at the top of your mat, shift to the top of it. We're going to keep the right foot forward at hips width distance and step the left foot back into Warrior One. Now, if Warrior One doesn't work, you can pick the back heel up if that makes it feel more comfortable on the back knee. But walk your feet so that they're at hips width distance apart across your mat. Stack the right knee over the right heel. You'll stretch out through your toes. And the hips don't need to get perfectly square, but the action of trying to bring the hips square-ish, helps to create integration in the legs. So if it hurts in the legs to do it, you just find the right amount for you. You can close your eyes and get really curious about that. Or put your hands on your hips and set your eyes off into the distance. Let your breath come in. And your breath go out. And you can stay here. If it feels okay, reach up through your arms. Pressing back strongly through the back leg. If the arms lifting is working, you can stay there or bring your hands to the tops of your shoulders. We'll just see if you can move freely in the upper body. So a little bit of an experiment, keeping the stabilization in the ground with the feet and trying to move around in a circle, in a semicircle, and the torso around the spine. And breathe in. And breathe out. All right. One more breath in. And with your exhale, bring your hands down to the inside edge of your right foot. Tap the left knee down. Oh, all right. A little bit more hip flexor love. You can bring your hands onto your left thigh, but this time, set your right knee over your right heel so that you have a 90-degree angle between your right knee and your right hip, and another 90-degree angle between your your left hip, knee, and heel. Cool. So your knee is stacked over your heel, your hip is stacked over your knee. Level your hips off. You can put your hands on the small of your back. Use your hands to guide your bum ever so slightly down, and try to lift your chest up. If you notice that there's a hinging happening at your hips, it can feel nice to put your hands in your hip creases and remind yourself to lift up. Maybe you stay here with your hands here at your hips. Maybe the left arm comes high. And breathe in. And breathe out. If stability is challenging here, try to anchor through the top of your left foot. Deep breath in. And full breath out. One more inhale. And with your exhale, bring both hands to your hips. You're welcome to use a wall for stability, but you'll walk your right foot over to the right and just tap the right knee beside the left. So your knees come down at hips width distance. If you need extra support now that both knees are on the ground, get the support. So maybe roll up a towel underneath your knees or a blanket. And take your arms up as you inhale. Curl your toes under as you exhale, unless you cannot. It'll add a little bit of support. With the toes curled under, try to lift your chest up towards your hands and lift your belly up, or the front line of your hips up towards your chest. Take a breath in. With your exhale, hands to center, which takes the back bend out. You'll bring your hands to the floor, either on fists, flat palms, or if your wrists are tender, you might find or explore using blocks underneath your forearms. Lots of variations today. Lots of options. You can give your hips a gentle sway or take a more traditional cat-cow, depending on what your spine is feeling called to this morning. Arching and rounding is a very traditional movement pattern. Link it up with breath, and suddenly it's mindful movement. Deliberate. If there is sensitivity in your low back, this comes up a lot, It might feel helpful to keep your chest slightly elevated from your hips. So you can put your hands or fists on blocks. Sometimes that helps. But we'll extend the right leg back behind you with the toes tapped down. You try to move a little bit forward since my foot is obstructed by the bolster. But you'll extend the right leg back. Take a moment's pause to level your hips off. We'll take a breath in. If it feels okay, float the right heel up and then tap it back down. Noticing if anything changes each time you lift your right heel. So if tapping the toes down feels like enough, stay. Otherwise, if it works for you, press down through your hands, anchor through the left knee or the top of the left foot, and float the right heel up. Slowly lower it towards the floor. You can tap down or not, but try to keep your hips stabilized. You can use the blocks or you can skip the blocks, totally up to you. If you've never played with the slight elevation in the torso, try it out and notice what it feels like. So maybe you're lifted up on blocks, on fists. We'll take one more breath in. And with your exhale, let your right foot come down. Spin your right heel down behind the left knee, and your left hand can stay on the floor or on your block. You'll stack your right hip over your left knee, then take the right arm high. If you're working with anything going on in the shoulder, this is a nice place to just make circles with the right arm and observe your range of motion. Let your breath come in and go out. Take one more breath in at the top. And with your exhale, bring your right hand down. Let your hips square off. Step your right foot between your hands. And you can use your blocks for support if you have them. Curl your back toes under and find runner's lunge. Breathe in. And with your exhale, you'll step forward to the top of your mat. Feet can be at hips width distance or together. Put your hands on your shins, lengthen out your spine. Inhale. Exhale and fold. Here we'll build chair pose from the ground up. Bend in your knees. Shift your hips back. Then use stabilizers to lift your upper body up. Arms go high. Yeah. If you need to adjust what's happening in the arms, you can drop your hands to your thighs or keep them out in front of you. And breathe in and breathe out. Listen. One more inhale. With an exhale, release your hands, stand tall. We'll be setting up warrior one on the second side. So the left foot is forward, the right foot is back, and it doesn't need to be the longest stance ever, but you do want hips width distance from right to left across your mat. Press back through your outer foot and use that press to activate your back leg. And try to stabilize in your thighs or in your upper leg muscles to help keep your hips relatively level. Maybe your hands stay on your hips as you explore that little bit of motion that helps you find level hips. Where is it coming from? Is it your thighs? Is it your pelvis and its tilt? Is it the hugging up of your front line? Explore over the next few breaths. breathe in. And breathe out. Remember, if this bothers your back knee, you can always pick up your back heel and take a lunge instead. If it works, wherever you are, put your hands on your shoulders or upper arms and just turn in the torso. Observing, if you can, freedom of movement or the ability to move in this range without the rest of your body going along for the ride. So your legs stabilize, stubbornly so. And your arms turn. Breathe in. And breathe out. We'll take one more breath in here. With an exhale, you'll bring both hands down to the floor, tap the right knee down, and we'll set up that 90-degree angle lunge again. So right hip over right knee, left knee over left heel. I find that when I come into this, there's a tendency for the left foot to try to come into line with the right knee, which makes it really hard to level off the hips. So try to observe if you can find level hips from the get-go, or if you need to adjust the relationship between your feet. Then from here, maybe your hands stay at your belly, and you just lift up your chest and front line. Maybe your right arm lifts. Maybe your left hand is more comfortable on the small of your back or at your left hip. Breathe in. And breathe out. In. And then breathe out. We'll take one more breath in here. With an exhale, bring your right hand down towards your hips or your front line. Or if you need support as you move, you can put your right hand on the wall. Walk your left foot over to the left. Maybe it's hands free, and you can tap the left knee down beside the right. Little bit of a front line uplift, and to stabilize, you're welcome to put blocks between your thighs. That can be a helpful way to feel the sense of wrapping or hugging in. You'll lift your chest, lift up your hip points, so you feel them come up along as if pulled up by your rib cage lifting. You can stay here with your hands towards your chest or towards your hips, or you can reach up with your hands. If there's any sensitivity in your neck, maybe it feels best to interlace your hands behind your head. We'll take 3 breaths, and you have the chance to explore in that time. One more breath in. And with your exhale, you'll come down slowly, hands to the floor or to blocks, whatever works best for you. You can take a cat-cow, or if you prefer to take a child's pose for a moment, that's allowed. But you'll find whatever movement or non-movement brings you back to feeling present. When you're ready for the second side, come back up into table. Extend. Actually, first get support under your hands, even if that means bringing the chest up above the line of the hips. If it feels better to be on forearms, that's also a great way to modify. Once you've found stability, you'll extend the left leg back. Try to keep the hips level. You can stay here, stabilizing. Breathe in. When it feels right, or if it feels right, you can lift the left leg up. If you lift up the left leg and you just feel this crunching sensation in your low back, pause and try to stabilize again. And without lifting up, you can do a lot of the internal stabilizing from the ground without having to lift up the leg. Without lifting up, try to feel your left quad, the muscles around your hip bones, lift and engage. And maybe that starts the action of lifting up the left foot without it feeling like a crunch in your low back. You can pulse up and down, and maybe that works in the hamstrings. If it ever feels like too much in the back, you just stop. Breathing in and breathing out. You're welcome to explore different height under the hands. Sometimes that creates some different sensation along the spine or along the stabilizers for the spine. Breathe in and out. When it's time to move, you'll slide your left foot behind the right knee, and the right foot might need to slide back in space. Keep the right hand in line with the right knee and reach the left arm up. As you're here, start to move the left arm in a big wide circle, if that works for shoulder stuff. There might be a place where you feel like you're kind of sinking in the joint. Try to keep the arm active as you move. So stretch out the fingers. Notice if the shoulder is moving because of the arm or if you're moving the shoulder on purpose. The shoulder blade, that is. And breathe in. And then breathe out. And keep reminding yourself, I cultivate support. One more inhale at the top. And with your exhale, bring your left hand down to blocks or the floor. Let your hips square off towards the floor. Take a breath in. And with an exhale, bring the left foot forward between your hands. Setting up a runner's lunge. Back toes curl under, pick up your back knee, lift your chest up as you inhale. And with your exhale, step forward and fold. On an inhale, come all the way up to stand. Arms go high. And with your exhale, hands to center. We'll turn towards the long length of your mat. We'll take a wide-legged position, but turn the toes out. This can be done seated, or if you want to get really creative, if you can't stand here, you can try it at the wall with your feet at the wall and your body flat on the floor, so there's less weight, but still some activation in the hips. And take a breath in. And a breath out. Let your hips or your shoulders sort of shimmy from side to side for a moment, saying hello to the posture by exploring its edges. And bend in your knees. And breathe in. And breathe out. And take your arms into a cactus shape. Sometimes this is called goddess arms. So yep, we're still here. Now there's a tendency for the low ribs to push forward, so we'll breathe in here. And with your exhale, we'll bring the elbows in and the low ribs back. Inhale, open. Still stable in the low ribs, so it's tempting to push into a back bend, but don't. Exhale, hug the elbows in. Open as you breathe in. Exhale, hug it in. One more time, breathe in. And with your exhale, hug and wrap. This time, drop your hands, straighten up your legs. We'll toe heel the feet in close enough that you can comfortably sit down And if there's a blanket underneath you, you can slide it underneath your bum. Cool. Bring your feet into butterfly to start. And if you need to adjust the height of whatever's underneath you, feel free to do that. It's always different, the needs of the body. So level off your hips and extend your right leg out. Now, once the right knee is extended out, if it's locking down or there's any sense of pressure in the knee, put something underneath the right knee. If there's any discomfort in the right heel, put something underneath the right heel. This is my refrain. Make sure the joints are supported. Now the left knee is bent and out to the side. You can put some blocks underneath it or a towel. Now from here, root into your bum, and that might help. It might be aided by doing this little rocking from side to side again. But you'll sit up tall. Put your right hand either on your thigh, your outer hip, or on the floor, and reach the left arm up. Yeah, perfect. Now you can stay here or lean a little more. As you start to lean, explore the pressure in your right hand that helps you create a sense of lift in the left side body. That helps you keep your left side long. And breathe in. And breathe out. It can be nice to use blocks underneath your right forearm instead of having to press into your hand or fist. 3 breaths. Now 2. And you'll come up to seated. Look around for your bolster if you have one. If you don't, we'll make do with what you've got around. But you'll set something in front of you. You can make it into a ramp or just something bolstered that helps elevate your body. Bring the bolster or a pillow or whatever you're using close to your belly so that when you hinge and fold, your belly has extra support, which in turn supports your spine, and you'll fold over whatever you've got. Now, as you hinge and fold, a couple of points to pay attention to or observe. If you start to hinge towards your left knee, that means you probably want more support under your bum so that your hips can be neutral, or underneath your bent knee, your right knee, your extended leg, I should say. If your head needs support because it doesn't touch down, roll up a blanket. And bring your head down. We'll be here for a few moments, so you want to observe what allows this pose to feel restful, because that's what we're looking to bring in here. What sort of support can you cultivate from your props to allow the pose to feel more easeful? And I see that, and I see some of you shifting around, which is great. Change it up as needed. So we're going to switch sides in just a moment. So when you're ready, you'll sit yourself up. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So when you're ready, you'll sit yourself up. And we'll start the process of switching sides. So you'll take your extended leg out and bend it. Poor kiddo. And we'll extend the opposite leg. So the left leg extends out, the right knee is bent and supported. We'll take a deep breath in. Try to find stability again in the back line. So if you notice that you're hinging forward, get tall. Let the breath come in and the breath go out. We can stay here, or the left hand will root down onto the floor or to blocks, and your right arm will start to lift up. So the side bend. Oops. Just move my props out of the way. Yep. We'll take a deep breath in and a full breath out. Exploring the way that you support the side bend by stabilizing the lower side body. When the pose feels complete, you'll come up for the forward folded version. So blocks, bolster, and hold. Let the pose take on a quality of easefulness. And then a breath out. If this feels like a good place to stay, then stay. As you're ready to come out, we'll walk the hands in. So, take the bolster out of the way. Move it to the side. Use your hands to help you bring your left knee in. You can come into a full butterfly or an uplifted sort of seated malasana. Wherever you go, sit up as tall as you can. So it can be butterfly or feet on the ground. Breathe in and breathe out. Now, whether you're in butterfly or this modified malasana, hold on to your knees. Lift your chest up as you inhale and gently round as you exhale. And breathe in, lifting. And breathe out, rounding. Twice more. Breathe in and breathe out. This time as you sit up, we'll make a choice. We'll set up Shavasana. If it feels better to keep your chest lifted today, you can set up in ramp shape or stairway to heaven. So that's always an option. Otherwise, we'll take a traditional Shavasana coming flat onto the floor and finding whatever support makes this pose feel comfortable. So maybe that's a towel as a blanket under your head. I like to have the bolster under the thighs to keep the knees soft. If you are working with needing support under your feet or ankles, try to let both of them feel relatively similar. So you can roll up a towel or blanket underneath your feet and let them feel supported. Supported being the word of the day. And once you're ready, you'll bring yourself down onto your back and you can sort of shimmy or shake your way into comfort. As you're here, count down from 10 breaths and use each breath to observe the support that you have in your body, the tools of support in your mind, for emotions and thoughts. Observing as you count down the way in which the support enables ease. deep breath in and a full breath out. You'll bring the soles of your feet to the floor when you're ready to move. You can stretch or reach in any way that helps you reintegrate in your body. Take a breath in. Press into your feet and roll to your side. You can pause here. Let your mind collect itself. When you're ready to re-emerge in the world, you'll press down into your hands and sit up. Let your spine get tall and sit on anything that's needed. Reconnect to breathing steady in and steady out. For our closing moment together, connect to any part of your body, mind, or environment that supported you for class today. Mentally acknowledge that place, part, person, thing, whatever it is. Bring your hand to the space just below your low ribs, your energy center, and the space at the center of your chest, where we most frequently connect to others. And acknowledge the space in yourself that supports you, connecting to others. We'll bow here. May all beings be peaceful. Thank you all so much for sharing practice.